I grew up in a highly educated household. My mom insisted that I was fluent in both Latin and Old Greek, and that I could recite all of Shakespeare's work verbatim. She wasn't too happy to find out my first boyfriend, Miguel, was Hispanic and didn't come from a good household. Hola, amigo, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
My mom immediately initiated a conversation about politics, trying to embarrass Miguel by asking a really complicated question.
Do you know how we can promote democratic governance inside victimized minority groups like Latinos?
I'm not sure I understood the question. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize English wasn't your first language. I guess you just recently came over the border. I had enough and pulled Miguel away from my mom. I realized that she would never accept me dating someone who didn't fit her narrow criteria of being an arrogant snob. She had already forbidden me from pursuing my passion of doing woodwork because, according to her, manual labor was reserved for the poor and uneducated people. While I couldn't fulfill my mom's expectations, my sister Giselle exceeded them. All she talked about was becoming a lawyer one day and making a lot of money. She was obsessed with getting a G-Wagon and owning a multi-million-dollar mansion, yet she didn't actually enjoy studying law. It never made sense to me why anyone would waste decades of their life working a job they hate in exchange for some money. Well, I was 16 when my mom gave me an ultimatum. Either I broke up with my boyfriend Miguel, or she would send me away to a boarding school in Iowa. Be careful about trying to control your kid's life, because they might rebel. I loved Miguel enough that I dropped out of high school and run away with him. He found a job in construction while I started working at an ice cream shop. We could only afford a tiny studio apartment with molds over the walls and rats running around. And yet, despite the poor circumstances, we were both happy. Miguel was a hard worker and ambitious. I knew he'd one day become successful. Meanwhile, I could finally pursue my passion, woodworking. Surprisingly, it only took me 6 months to make a good living from it. I started by setting up workshops for kids where they could build their own furniture. I always held the workshops in wealthy neighborhoods so I could network with the kids' parents, many of whom were rich. That's how I quickly built a client list of wealthy individuals who now sometimes pay me over $10,000 to build them one single piece of furniture. Yes, I'm making a lot of money now, which is why I felt confident enough to visit my family again during Christmas. I guess I wanted to let them know that I hadn't turned out to be a failure after all. Yet Giselle was super condescending. Sis, you don't even have a high school degree? Nope. And it doesn't bother you that you've wasted your potential? I'm actually quite happy. After all, I'm making a lot of money doing what I love. Meanwhile, you still haven't even finished your law PhD. Doesn't it bother you to waste your life doing something you hate? It felt good to outdo my sister. Yet I regret offending her because she is an absolute sociopath. The following month, a parent who'd sent their son to one of my woodworking workshops claimed that he had smashed his eye with a hammer at my workshop and that he had suffered permanent damage to his eyesight. Now she wanted to sue me. I knew her story was fabricated because the boy had already been wearing an eye clap the day before the alleged accident. Yet when I consulted a lawyer, he told me to settle the case or else the lawsuit could go on for years, take up all my time, and basically ruin my life. So I had to take on $200,000 of debt to pay damages to that child. Of course, I suspected my sister had orchestrated all of this. She understood the law and couldn't accept that my life was better than hers. I met her again a few years later and asked if she had anything to do with that mother trying to sue me. Oh yeah, I met this woman whose kid had poked his eye with a hammer while at one of your workshops. He's partially blind now on that eye. So I suggested to his mother to sue you. Why do you ask? Oh, I'm so done with my sister. Anyway, please watch this clip of Warren Buffett explaining why it is stupid to pursue a career you don't love.
I was wondering how you define success personally.
Well, I can certainly define happiness because that's what I am. I mean, I mean, I get to do what I like to do every single day of the year, and I get to do it with people I like. And I don't have to associate with anybody. Causes my stomach to churn. The only thing in my job I don't like, and this only happens about every 3 or 4 years, occasionally I have to fire somebody, and I don't like. That's the only thing. Other than I tap dance to work, and I get down there, and I think I'm supposed to lie on my back and paint the ceiling, or something like Michelangelo. I mean, that's the way I feel, and it doesn't diminish. It's tremendous fun. So. You know, if they say that success is getting what you want and happiness is wanting what you get. Well, I don't know which one applies in this case, but I do know that I wouldn't be doing anything else. I mean, I do advise you, you know, when you go out to work, go to work for an organization that you admire, people you admire, because it'll turn you on, and you ought to be happy where you are working. And I always worry about people who say, you know, I'm going to do this for 10 years. I really don't like it very well, and then I'll do 10 more years of this. I mean, that's a little like saving up sex for your old age. I mean, not a very good idea. So get right.
You would recommend that.
Get right into what you enjoy, you know, and you'll be successful at it. You really will. I mean, you won't be able to miss. And you know, that's. I don't regard what I do as the most important thing in the world at all, but it's right for me. I mean, I happen to be wired in a certain way that what I do works in this. If I had to do what, you know, Bill does, I mean, it lasts about 10 minutes. And that's true of a lot of things, but luckily I kind of stumbled into the thing that I do best, and that, you know, that it's worked out well.